Welcome to Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wilding in the stand. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gonna be our year. We're here drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring. Yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds and another Royal Rebounds podcast with Calvin and Barry. Unfortunately, the Sacramento Kings lose tonight, 106-100 to the Denver Nuggets. Darren Fox puts up his fourth double-double of the season, but unfortunately, it is not enough to beat the Nuggets. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to smash that like button down below. And if you would like to join the Royal family with Calvin and I, make sure you hit that subscribe button before the shot clock expires.
Yes, Kings lose, unfortunately, but it is fortunate for their potential draft pick hopes, which a lot of people are excited about. If the Kings are going to lose, or if the Kings aren't going to make the playoffs, obviously you want them to get a better draft pick, right? So one step closer after tonight, but it was a good game to watch.
That's true. If you're listening via your favorite podcast platform, we would appreciate a 5-star rating. And if you would like to be a part of the show, you can always join us live after every single game here on YouTube. We'll be right back with your Sacramento Kings nightcap. What's up, guys? Welcome back. The big news of the evening, Domantas Sabonis suspended for this game after making contact with the referee. In the previous game, we got to see Alex Len start his 11th start of the season. The Kings are actually in this game. I know they lost the 3 previous games to the Denver Nuggets, but this one felt like they had a chance there at the end. Cue in all the Kings fans saying the Kings are better without Sabonis, and now.
Well, man, I certainly haven't seen or heard anybody say that yet. I don't expect to hear much of that. But, yeah, they played a really good game. And I actually thought midway through the second quarter and going into halftime, it's funny, I thought that they were going to lose this game by 20 points. And going into halftime of the next game, I thought they were going to win by 15 points. Complete opposites in both games, but, you know, what do we know, I guess. So yeah, I mean, without Sabonis, it's, you know, the deck is stacked against you a lot here. They needed guys to step up. Trey Lyles came out and had a great start to this game. Darren Fox was, again, Darren Fox. Mm-hmm. And the team played defense. That was the biggest change. The reason they were in this game was they were able to get stops. They didn't have the best offensive game tonight, but they were able to stay in this game because they collectively did a good job of getting stops, and that was something I didn't think they were going to do in that second half because the Nuggets they're a fun team to watch, by the way. They're really, really creative offensively. You really don't see a 7-foot center being the guy that comes running off of 2 staggered screens in the middle of a play very often, but that's what the Nuggets can do. And they're kind of like a heavyweight fighter, right? Like they move the ball so well, they pass it, they swing it around to everybody. And obviously you have to always pretty much double Jokic, so you're pretty much always in scramble mode against them. And just like a heavyweight boxer, you know, with body shots over the course of a night or a game, it wears you down defensively. So in the fourth quarter, you're super fatigued, and it's hard to play against them. But give the Kings a lot of credit. They turned it around in the second half defensively. Yeah,
they were shorthanded tonight, and they were able to make it a game, but it was same old Kings in the end. They just couldn't get that last rebound or 2 rebounds that they needed to close this game out. But it was entertaining. The third quarter was by far the best part. The Nuggets were only held to 17 points
allowed.
In that third quarter, which is huge. I want to give a shout-out to everybody here in the chat. Mike, Brian, Sass, Alex, welcome, Gothan, Fred. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining in here.
Always good to see you guys.
Unfortunately, another loss for the Sacramento Kings, but that's okay, guys. We're getting better draft picks here, or hopefully. Darren Fox is still playing incredible. 32, 10, and 5 for him tonight. And this is his, I think, 14th game in a row now with over 20 points.
Yep, he's the first King to do it since Chris Webber.
Yeah, that's really big. And as I mentioned, we got to see Alex Len start tonight. He only played 11 minutes, 2 of 5 from the field, 4 points. Let's talk a little bit about this Sabonis suspension because, somebody mentioned it in our last podcast, right? They're like, oh, he might be suspended or something. We're like,
yeah,
really?
That was a good call.
We didn't notice that at all.
I think it was Kings.
Okay. And then before the game, they're talking about the suspension, and they're like, well, the rule is clear. You can't make contact with the official, blah, 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 all this. And then they went and showed like 4 other plays that happened this season by guys that made contact with the official, even like aggressive contact, like shoving, pushing, all that. None of these guys were suspended. The nice guy in Demarcus Sabonis gets suspended for this game. I want to hear your thoughts, Cal.
I mean, it's tough. I don't think it was a very deserved suspension. It certainly wasn't, an outrageous thing, in my opinion. But I mean, that's what you just said is the hard part, right? Like you see guys do stuff like this and they don't get suspended.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it has been made very clear over the years that if you make contact with an official, it's probably not going to end well, whether it's a suspension or a major fine or something like that. So while it's hard to completely disagree with it because of those reasons, it was pretty unfortunate, and I don't think that it was that deserving. I
mean, they even showed a clip with like Chris Paul straight shoulder blocking this referee, gets ejected for the game, doesn't get suspended. It's pretty wild. I mean, it's getting ridiculous out here. I'm just going to leave it at that. Speaking of ridiculous, we got to see Demarcus Cousins return again to Sacramento.
4 offensive fouls.
I think this was his 2nd game ever returning to Golden One Center as an opponent. He killed the Kings last time. He killed his own team tonight.
He did.
Because he's been playing great recently. Yeah. He's been playing really well. Yeah. 4 offensive fouls for him tonight. And that really set the tone for Sacramento and let them come back into this game. 20 total turnovers for the Denver Nuggets in this game. 4 of those are Demarcus Cousins offensive fouls.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen Demarcus Cousins have games like that, both in Sacramento and in wherever else he's played. He has a tendency to do that sometimes.
6 total turnovers for Cousins.
Yeah, rough. I mean, the whole team, 20 turnovers. The Kings defensively, they don't usually force that many turnovers. So it was a major, major factor to this game, absolutely.
Sass is mentioning Holiday, the back-to-back blocks, and then the Dante block on Cousins really sparked the team.
Yeah, totally agree.
The Holiday blocks were amazing. That was just perfect timing. It's almost like he knew what the play call was because the timing was impeccable on those blocks.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he has a great length and size advantage on Bryn Forbes anyway, but you're right, the timing was perfect on those plays. And 3 blocks basically in 1 possession for the Kings. That's a sentence that you really don't hear very often. So you could tell the crowd got energized right away from it, and it definitely, I think, gave the team a lot of energy as well.
This felt like one of the very few home games the Kings have had this season, right? Like, we actually heard
honestly,
the crowd.
I'll say this was probably one of the best games that the Kings have played all year.
Yeah.
They didn't win, so it's hard to say that it's one of the best games they played. But overall, the way they played defense tonight, we've seen that, I can count less than 5 times probably that type of defensive effort. So it was definitely one of their better games.
Techno Peasant says, I didn't mind this loss. The Kings played good basketball in the second half, but Jesus, the refs were ass. And the 2 Trey Lyles threes in the final stretch made me want to puke.
Yeah, that's the one thing when you need a 3 like that at the end, even though De'Aaron has one of his best games probably of the year from long distance, they do not have the consistent outside shooting that you go to in those situations. I mean, I expected Harrison Barnes to be the guy taking those shots down the stretch, but he again kind of went MIA there.
He had a 3. He had a 3 late.
Yeah, he did, but they're not. When they needed the 3, they weren't looking to get him the shot. is my point. He's the best three-point shooter on the team, has been all year.
Yeah, Anthony says that last reach-in foul by Jones really hurt us. It gave the Nuggets back-to-back three-point plays.
Yeah. Well,
it's just how the game goes, man.
It is. Yeah. And if I'm looking for one thing or one area where it made the Kings lose this game, it's going to be rebounding.
Yeah,
they got killed on the boards.
Exactly.
Offensive rebounds were a killer. You're down 2 minutes left, down by 1, 96-95. You give up 2 straight offensive rebounds. Jokic gets an and one three-point play. Nuggets come down the next possession, another and one from Monty Morris. That's the game right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know how many rebounds DiVincenzo had in this game?
I do not, actually.
0. Which is crazy.
Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. All right, Cal, I think it's time to jump here into the box score.
Oh.
And before you get started, Jeff wants to know Holiday's stat line first.
Well, we'll lead with Justin Holiday then. All right, Vinny. Holiday goes for 8 points, 3 of 8 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, -2 in the lots of 2s for him. He played really, really well defensively tonight, and they definitely needed him out there. Part of the reason that the Kings were able to get back into this game was their defensive efforts. So it's another poor shooting night for Justin Holiday, but overall, I think you got to love the way that he played defensively. Darren Fox is again the star of the show, 32 points, 10 assists, 1 steal, 12 of 23 from the floor. Harrison Barnes with 17 points, and Trey Lyles 14 points. He had 11 of them in the first quarter. 9, 8, and 8 for Metu, Jones, and Mitchell. And then Jokic, man, just another monster stat line from him.
That's crazy, man.
That's crazy. 38 points, 18 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 15 of 24
And he
shooting.
wasn't even playing that
I know,
well
the
in
second half, he really wasn't having that great of a game. Like, it's just... That's why you're the MVP, you know?
And 18 rebounds.
Yeah.
The Kings' leading rebounder was Trey Lyles with 9 rebounds in this game. Then we had Metu with 8 off the bench. Jokic had more than those two combined.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And we didn't see him hit a 3 in this game, too, which we've seen him
do
Only
a
2
lot
attempts. He's done a lot of damage to the Kings from three-point range with – I got to say, one of the goofiest looking three-point shots in the league, but it goes in.
Yeah. I mean, he's got that over-the-head shot. You know, I mean, Dirk kind of shot it above his head as well. Maybe it's a European thing. I don't know. Luka kind of does too, actually.
Mike wants to know if you saw that Wagner-Bryant fight in college.
I did see that, and it's one of the – I don't know, Barry, if you know what he's talking about.
No, I missed it.
It was one of the conference – it's championship week for the NCAA conference tournaments. I'm not sure which league. I forget what league that is that these two teams play in, but there was a huge brawl. It's a 30-point blowout. I mean, this game's over. And all of a sudden, this huge fight erupts in the stands.
Okay.
College
I think I saw this on ESPN.
There was like a 25-minute delay to the game because they had to get it all sorted out in the stands. And yeah, it was wild.
Sounds like a fun game to go to, huh?
Well, I guess. I don't know. Depends on what you're there for. Because if you're there for the team that got lost by 30, I guess, who the hell cares? Let's just start a riot.
You got to get something back, right? Get your money's worth. Rashawn Holmes doesn't play again tonight, out due to personal reasons, but he's still on the bench, which is weird because normally when guys miss a game due to like personal reasons, there's like something they have to go to or be at, so you don't even see them, but he's sitting on the bench in street clothes.
Yeah, I mean, it just is more writings on the wall to me. Like, this dude's not going to be a part of this team for much longer.
Yeah, crazy. So crazy. I really like Rashawn. I think he's done great for Sacramento. It's just unfortunate with the eye injuries, with the COVID, with all the other stuff going on. Tonight would have been his night to make an impact because Sabonis is out.
Yeah.
And he sits out the game.
I've seen a lot of people asking why Keita didn't get any minutes tonight either. I think there's definitely a case to be made for that.
How many more games?
I don't know.
How many more games, Calvin, until they're just like, okay, we're out of it, F it. Keita's getting minutes. Jones is getting heavy minutes. Like,
I don't know, man. I think that I'm not sure if this is a ongoing conversation between the coaching staff and the front office, but just the fact that you traded for a lot of new guys, all guys who you would expect should be a big part of the rotation or have a chance to crack into that rotation. And I really think that it's all about evaluating which of these guys, obviously not Sabonis, but which of the rest of them are in the long-term plans for this team. And so these are the guys that you're going to see play a lot. We heard Alvin Gentry say that Josh Jackson is going to get more minutes.
Yeah.
Didn't see him tonight, though, so it's really hard to say. I don't know.
I mean, at halftime, I was not very excited about this game. I looked at Asha and I told her, I don't even want to watch this game. This is not fun. And then the third quarter was a lot of fun. Like, I really enjoyed it. But, there comes a point, the Kings are officially 20 games below 500. So, it's like 8 more losses, and they've doubled up their losses over wins, which is pretty wild. No, actually 4 more losses because they're at 24 wins right now, which is crazy. Techno Peasant wants to talk about the Lakers game, and I'm cool to talk about that right now, Calvin.
Sure.
I didn't get to watch this game.
Real quick, Mike, I'll just say I would love to do a March Madness special. Barry and I will be in Vegas for the opening week of the tournament. So we'll do something, from Vegas. I don't know how much of a special it'll be, but I would love to eventually do like a real special on the tournament. That would be great. It's my favorite sporting event ever.
Yeah, we might do some clips from our phone, we'll see what happens. Depends on how much fun we're having, I guess, in Vegas. But Calvin, I missed this game in real time, but Houston defeats the Lakers in overtime, 139-130. LeBron James has another crazy game with 23 points, 14 rebounds, 12 assists. Russell Westbrook goes for 30. Malik Monk goes for 20. Austin Reeves goes for 17. Carmelo, 13. DJ Augustine, 16.
A lot of points scored in this game.
A lot of points scored in this game. And you look at Houston, it's just very well spread out between their offense. They were missing a bunch of people too. Kevin Porter almost had a triple-double. Jalen Green had 32 points, but it's pretty well distributed. All the starters are in double figures. Yeah. And I think they got 3 guys coming off the bench in double figures as well. But that's what happens.
2 guys, but one of them had 21. Josh Christopher had 21 points in 22 minutes off the bench.
That's what happens when you score almost 140 points in a game.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I learned today, Jayshawn Tate didn't play in this game, it looks like. But he is leading the NBA in points per game off the bench. I thought it was Tyler Hero this whole time, but Jayshawn Tate actually averaging 22 points a game off the bench for the Houston Rockets this season.
Blazers lose to the Jazz tonight. Spurs lose to the Raptors. It's looking good for Sacramento if they could just get a couple wins here, but unfortunately they lose again. Looking here at the play-in right now, you still have the Lakers there at 28-37.
Said that word.
You got New Orleans in there at 27-39. I honestly think you look at the standings right now, those 10 teams are probably the teams that are going to end up
I would be very surprised to see there be a different team break into that top 10 and one of those other teams fall out. I mean, the Lakers are trying very hard to do it, but I don't know if they actually will.
I mean, if New Orleans goes on a 5-game losing streak, Sacramento goes on a 3-game winning streak, or tied up.
Yeah, crazier things have happened, I guess.
It's not a lot, but it's just the point that you're looking and you're like, we're 20 games below 500.
5-game losing streak is pretty substantial. Like any team that's not, one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the NBA, to go on a 5-game losing streak, you're like, wow, they're really going through it right now.
But is it though for a team that's 12 games under 500? It's like
yes, but my point is they've played much better since the All-Star break, right?
Yeah.
Since the trade deadline.
McCollum's been huge.
So at this point, I think it would be very surprising to see them drop 5 in a row. I don't know what I do know their strength of schedule the rest of the way is like middle of the league, 16th or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they're playing, they don't have as tough a schedule as the Kings do. So it would be surprising to see them lose 5 in a row.
Not going to happen, guys. But maybe. I don't know. Maybe. My inner Kings fan is
you
like...
You never know. Somebody could get hurt or Zion comes back and he screws everything up for them. I don't know.
That's funny. RP says, I'm convinced adding a player like Kuzma would make the Kings a play-in, if not playoff team.
Yeah, I think we've been trying to echo that this entire season. Just get any power forward or a real 4 in there that gives you, is able to be your full-time starting power forward at that position. Plug anybody capable of handling that role in there, and the Kings are our better team. Definitely.
Anthony says Brandon Ingram is injured. I look here. He's got a hamstring injury. He's out 7 to 10
there you
days.
Go. That could be it right there.
7 to 10 days. Part of me is like...
I still wouldn't bet on them losing 5 in a row. But
no, but part of me is like, I would hate it if they lost 5 in a row because then I'd be like, oh, my God, we have a chance here. The goal is not to make the play-in and get worked by another team. Like, that is not the goal of this team. The goal is to make the playoffs. The goal should be to win a championship. Obviously, that should be every team's goals. Some teams are closer than others, but, it should be everybody's goal. Like, your first year going to college, you're 4 years away, you're a freshman, your goal is to graduate college, right? Like, it doesn't matter how many years or how far you are, that should still be the goal, and that should be something that you're building towards. The Kings need a lot more to even get close to building towards that goal, and that's where draft picks come in handy, in my opinion, and the draft lottery.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just when you lose that much, it really puts you in a tough situation because you get to a point now where they finally made a deal for a really, really impactful player, and you're expecting results from the team.
Yeah.
But at the same, because you've lost so much over the past 15 years, you want them to get into that whatever the next step is, play-in tournament, playoffs, anything. Even if it's a sweep or a 1-game exit, you want to see them take a next step. But you're also in this really awkward stage right now where you're thinking, okay, we got a chance to actually to improve even more if the team loses even more right now.
Yeah.
So it's just a really tough situation.
It's just like I can't even fathom in my brain that we're even having this conversation about a team that's 20 games below 500. That's the craziest thing for me.
That's what the play-in tournament does. It gives more hope to really bad teams.
It's really, really wild. I feel like the NBA just put the play-in in there to tease us. I don't know. You want to go over your keys to the game, Calvin? As I mentioned earlier, the Kings were 0-3 against the Nuggets this season. Now they are officially 0-4. I don't know if you saw. Did you see they had winning percentages of the Kings before and after the Sabonis trade?
Yeah, and they were
about
identical.
33% or something like that with Sabonis, 35 without. Very, very close. But
yeah, at one point, I think they were the percentage is a little bit higher than that. I think it's like 38%.
38, okay.
But they were identical at one point here just couple games ago, I think.
Yeah, and it's hard to just bring in a guy, rebuild, just 6 new players. Start the timer now. We need to win more than we did with guys that have been on this team for 3 years in a row.
Yep.
Have a good night, Fred. All right, keys to the game.
Keys to the game.
Denver. The first one is a big one. Probably the most important.
Yeah, it didn't even matter tonight. Sabonis foul watch. He didn't have any fouls tonight.
Well, he fouled out in the last game for this game.
He also didn't have any minutes, so it kind of is a moot point. So, yeah, obviously it was a big disadvantage not having Sabonis out there. Number 2 was guard the 3. think this might be the only time all season that I've had this as a key to the game, and the Kings actually did it. 9 of 35 for Denver shooting from beyond the arc. That's just 25%, slightly below 26%. And then number 3 was transition defense. First half, it wasn't really that good, but the second half was much, much better. And they were able to force some turnovers, get out and transition a little bit themselves. Only 8 fast break points, only 7 for Denver, 8 for Sacramento. So they really did a good job. But yeah, as I mentioned before, they got killed in rebounding. 58 points in the paint as well for Denver. And those 2-and-1s coming off of 2 offensive rebounds there in the last 2 minutes was what sealed the deal.
Yeah, we saw Denver up by 18 at one point in this game. I thought it was going to be a blowout. Kings losing by 6 is a victory for me. And that's just moral victory. And yes, I think there are moral victories. There was things that I saw in this game that I really liked from this team. There's things that they can build off of and they can learn. A loss is a loss. Don't get me wrong on that. I would have loved to win this game, but we're talking about potentially building towards next season. If you can make improvements in a game and still lose the game, but you're improving as a team, you're playing together, you're doing some things, that we really like, I think that's a great step to take.
Yeah, I agree. We've said it a ton of times on this show over the past couple of years that if they could just play better defense, give a little bit more effort, find a way to get a couple more stops, a couple more winning possessions defensively per game, it's going to make a huge, huge difference. And I can't really envision this team getting better overall until I start to see that.
Yep.
And tonight I definitely saw that. So the problem is there's 82 games in the season, not one.
That is very, very true. So looking here at the team stats for the night, 48.8% from field goal range for the Nuggets as opposed to 44.7% for Sacramento. The Kings were able to clamp down on three-point shooters, only allowing 25.7% from three-point range as the Kings shot 35%. Unfortunately, free throws were big for me. We've seen the Kings miss.
They really have dipped back down.
Yeah, quite a few free throws, including that one by HB during that technical. Yeah. I thought that was a very important part of the game because the momentum was swinging in Sacramento's direction. I know it's only 1 point, but I think that really matters, and that would have helped them a lot. They shot 66% from the free throw line as opposed to almost 90% for Denver. As you mentioned, the Kings got out-rebounded by 13 in this game, which is right around what Sabonis is averaging on the season. So, obviously you put Sabonis out there, Trey Lyles is probably not going to have 9 rebounds in this game. But team rebounding is important, and it's just same old Kings. Without Sabonis, they can't get boards. We saw it late in the game. The Kings had a chance. It was tied. Then they were down by 2. Then they were down by 3, down by 6. It doesn't matter how good a defense you play if you can't get the board. Like, for me, that is huge. And then also, you look at shooting percentages. The reason that Denver was able to win this game and shoot 25% from three-point range is because they were able to get offensive rebounds.
Yeah, and shot very well inside in the paint. I mean, they were very, very efficient, very effective down there as well.
Yeah, 2 more assists for Denver tonight. Steals were tied up, 2 more blocks for Sacramento, and actually 4 more turnovers for Denver with 20-16 for your Sacramento Kings. But it was a pretty even game towards the end there. It was exciting to watch. And, I'm always happy to watch another Kings game when they're in it and they're close. It's just the games where they're down by 20 or losing brutally. It really is disappointing and tough for me to watch, like the first half in this game. But
wow, I just saw the Knicks beat Dallas on the road by 30
really
tonight. Yeah.
Wow. But they were able to turn things around again. So, like I said, there are not moral victories, but there are some victories you can take from the game as far as things that you like, things that you've done, things that have worked, and it gives you things to build off of because, for me, if you're the Kings, all you can really ask for at this point is things to build off of. Like, you're not ready to build a house. You're building the foundation right now. And the better the foundation, the better the house is going to be. And we're just still trying to piece together that foundation. So I saw some things in the third quarter I really like from Sacramento, and I think those things will help them, maybe not win-wise through the rest of the season, but morally-wise and, team-wise.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that when your favorite team is about to miss the playoffs for its 16th consecutive season, they're 20 games below 500 currently. It's hard to find a lot of bright spots or positive things to take away. But I do think after just watching this one game, you can see if Darren Fox is able to continuously play like this for the course of an entire season, Domantas Sabonis coming back to this team with a full off season working with Darren Fox. They add another high impact player to this team, whether it's through the draft or through a trade, and the defensive, rotations and closeouts. Darren Fox, his closeouts tonight were phenomenal. I really has impressed me, over the past 10 to 12 games, really ever since the trade deadline, with his defensive effort that he's giving. I'm really pleased to see it because I was begging for it before that, and he's really turning into the team's for real best player if he continues this trend that he's on right now. So all of those things make you think there's reason for optimism to go into next season. But again, it's a big off season and a lot has to go Sacramento's way in order for them to be in a position where they're really ready. We didn't even talk about coach, who will be the next coach of this team. That's going to be a major factor as well. Yeah,
and I want to talk about that stuff here in the next section, but just real quick, before we get there, we want to wrap up this game. Ray wants to know what is wrong with DiVincenzo. 0 field goals tonight, 0 for 5 from field goal range, 0 points, 0 steals, 0 rebounds, only 11 minutes. I see 12 minutes of play from him tonight. He was not in foul trouble. What do you think is going on with Donte DiVincenzo?
Hard to say. I don't know. I mean, I think that it's obvious you can throw out the excuses of like he's still trying to work himself back physically to 100% from the injury and he's playing with a new group of guys, but we've used those excuses now really ever since he's been on the Kings. Yeah. So maybe it still is that. Maybe he's just in a slump like Justin Holiday is in a slump shooting. I don't know. It's hard to say.
37 minutes.
For somebody that's not around the team, every day.
That's true. 37 minutes for Damian Jones tonight probably has to be his highest minute played in any game this season. Part of that is due to Sabonis being out.
Of course.
Only 8 points for him tonight, 7 rebounds, and I say only 8 because we've seen him have some decent games this season. What'd you like, what'd you dislike from Damian Jones?
I liked a lot. There's very little that I didn't like. I said on our last show that he has nightmares of Nikola Jokic, and I give him a lot of credit. He came out and he stood his ground today. He's really aggressive offensively, trying to get to the rim, and so I thought that he played really well in a game that they definitely needed him to step up.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, I'm ready to move on. Are you ready to move on?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, guys, if you need to break the seal, here's your chance. We're going to take a quick break here. And when we return, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into your Sacramento Kings with Around the Crown.